And we're live. Welcome to the ninth Community Currency Now broadcast, where we talk to people who are actually in the field, making magic happen on the ground with real community currencies and the interface with blockchain technology, so that we can kind of understand how people are working with community currencies now and apply that in the blockchain space, or not in this episode. We'll see. So yeah, today I'm Griff Green. I work with Common Stack. We're trying to create sustainable economies around public goods funding. And I'm joined, as always, with Julio. Julio, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Julio. I'm from Guatemala, based in Berlin. I work on Circles UBI. I explore the relationship between basic income and community currencies. And I'm also helping to organize the Community Currency Alliance to figure out how we can make all of our efforts grow and emerge.
And we're joined with a very special guest, Valentin, who has created Social Coin. Do you want to introduce yourself, Valentin?
Yes, I'm Valentin Seehausen from Berlin. I created the social coin. I studied pluralist economics. I'm not a blockchain advocate, and maybe we're going to have an interesting conversation about that tonight. And I'm super glad and honored to be here because I really love and follow your work. And I really admire what you contribute to the community. And yeah, super cool to be here. Thanks for your work, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And let's just dig into it. Tell us all about Social Coin.
Yeah, we are very close to the start. We're gonna go public next week, actually, and we had a registration phase of 2 weeks. Right now we have like 50 registrations. I was actually, I would love to have like 100, but I mean, I guess 50 are a start. Yeah, this is a social coin. Should I describe the project in a little bit more? The social coin is a community currency based in a small city called Siegen, and it's going to happen in the part of the city called Achenbach. Siegen is the city of the university where I studied pluralist economics, and I met this local politician, Günther Langer, and he's doing awesome local work. So he was actually the best partner I could have to fund a community currency, because he's more than grounded and rooted and based in the community. It's a scheme that is not related to the fiat currency, like not to euro. It's totally independent. The people will earn the social coin for voluntary work, which is like helping out in the city district, like cleaning, for example, or helping out the elderly, go shopping for someone that, or like buy groceries for someone that is not able to do it, or actually help in the how do you call it, in this, is it called the animal farm, where all these homeless dogs and cats live? I think animal shelter or something. Okay, they get this social coin for volunteering work, and they can rent out electric mobility for it. Like we've got 4 electric bicycles right now. 2 were gifted to us when we like had our press release. It was super cool. We're gonna have 1 car, but it's gonna come in November. I was actually expecting it to arrive earlier, but it's okay. And we're gonna have like, right now we have 1 of this scooter things for the children, and we're gonna have some more because they really love it. And yeah, that's a basic thing, like voluntary work against e-mobility.
Is it a closed cycle? Like there's not on-ramps or off-ramps between social coin and euros? Is that like intentionally blocked?
Yes, it's a closed cycle, and it's intentionally blocked because of some legal issues. Like a part of our target group is actually unemployed people and refugees. And like the legal situation for them is, quite complicated in Germany. So unemployed people are not allowed to like earn anything, because it would get subtracted from their social help, which is called Hartz IV in Germany. And refugees are not allowed to work at all. And so if the social coin is not bound to the euro, it's I don't know the English translation. In German, it's geldwerte Leistung. It's like I mean, it's nothing the financial office can actually account, and so we are actually allowed to give them the social coin. And it does. I mean, refugees can do it; they are allowed to do it, and unemployed people don't have any disadvantages by it. So this is the reason. This.
Sorry, I realized it was muted. Yeah, that makes sense. It's come up a lot of times in this channel actually about like if you have the on-ramps in some ways, it could destroy the value of the currency. That actually it stops the circular motion of the currency flowing. But something else that's interesting here that has come up when I was reading some of your work is that when you start quantifying the challenge of quantifying volunteer work, you're saying that you're actually going to reward a social coin for volunteer work. And sometimes I've seen some of your work that there's this like internal debate that you have about this. Could you dive into that?
Yeah, that's super interesting because this is actually the scientific research I wanted to do about it. I'm still eager to do, but with this 50 participants might be a little bit too less data. But still the topic is interesting and I dive into it. I mean, the intuition is easy, right? People do voluntary work, you provide them social coins and you think, wow, the motivation rises. But the point is that a lot of experiments, especially in psychology and more in economy, actually hint to an anti-intuitive effect, that people lose their intrinsic motivation to do a work when they get remunerated for it. So yeah, this is basically the debate, and this is basically the research question, like, does the social coin actually have a positive impact on voluntary work in terms of, are the people more motivated and do they contribute more hours? So this is the main question, and the literature is actually like from the literature point of view, it might be possible that it has a negative value. Let's see.
This is something that we are that I've been playing with for like 4 years. Definitely not scientific studies, just in different communities trying to do reward DAO, and now we have a praise bot, and trying to break up this into a few different pieces, right? Because every volunteer loves to be acknowledged. They want the acknowledgement, the recognition for their work. Like that's really important. And just leading volunteers for a long time, that's always like critical. But then the reward part is very difficult. That's where it gets challenging. And so do you think that it's the quantification of it? Would it matter if it's instead of a coin that has a quantity, what if it's like a shirt or like Kickstarter, like elevated, like you get a trip to the Bahamas if you start an orphanage kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, there are different layers, right? I'm not an expert right now. I have to write this paper still, so maybe ask me in a year. But I mean, yeah, like one layer is this easy enumeration, like you get something from it, and the other layer is I'm just citing a paper where I forgot the authors. Is this reward in terms of it's a social reward, like maybe all people come together and you go to the stage and you say, hey man, you just contributed X, Y, Z, and this is why you are great, and everybody celebrates you and your success. Like this is a social praise that you named. And there's also another third layer, which is also quite interesting. It's the layer of like what I forgot the word, but what do you think about yourself? Like, are you praiseworthy? Like, are you the human being you want to be? Like, are you someone that is doing good, that is contributing, that is like making the world a better place? And this is interesting because like this might actually be destroyed by something like the social coin, because suddenly you can't tell yourself the story about yourself, I do good, but suddenly it's like I do good because I get the social coin, and so like this layer like falls away. And so there are methods that like connect the social coin to the social praise. Like you get the social coin, and then I don't know, something happens like gamification in the app, or like people are actually clapping to you. Yeah, this is what I know right now about it. But yeah, it's interesting, and there's quite a lot of research about it. Like
That's very interesting, Valentine. I mean, I guess what you're talking about is basically what happens when you tokenize or monetize specific social values, right? And
yes,
I'm sure the currency design of social coin also influences the way people react to this thing, right? So then I have two questions from the audience, actually. The first one from our friends from Trustlines. Andreas Fletcher is asking,
yes.
so yeah. So what type of people or companies do these 50 participants consist of? Are they only individuals? Are they refugees, as you mentioned? Are they unemployed people in Hartfia? What is the demographic, more or less? And then you can answer this, and then I'll ask the second question.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Hi, Andreas from Trustlands. Thank you very much for your question. Okay, the demographics. Well, I didn't ask too many questions in the registration, but I from like I mean I can see the data and the names. I would say 40% like people with immigration background. Like I don't know if they're refugee status or not. And at least 20 to 30% of people that are like directly affiliated to the organization I won the project with. Yeah, and the rest I would say like people that read it in the newspaper, or maybe like two or three from Facebook marketing, but I'm not that good in social media marketing, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is about the demographics.
Cool, thanks for that. And then the second question comes all the way from Calgary. The people from Calgary Dollars are asking,
Cool.
how do you fund the purchase or maintenance or fuel of your transportation options? That's a question.
Yeah. Actually, I think this is the most important question in the CCA community ever. Because, I mean, yeah, we have this great ideas, and I mean, this motivation and this ideals, and we really want to change the world. We really want to make it like better in what we consider to be better. And it's amazing how difficult it is to get funding. We've been working on this for 2 years, and my project partner is actually very experienced in getting funding, and he's also quite successful in getting funding. But for this specific project, it was super complicated to get funding. So what we did is we actually like there's like I've got half a job from another project, which is actually about programming an app for the city district, and the social coin lives in this app. So this is our trick. And another thing was just using money from another project, which was like the app was an unemployment or employment qualification program, and the second program was something like to fight poverty or something. But it is super complicated to get funding. The electric cars and bikes are just bought from this organization, because they are quite big, like for this for the city district. I mean, like 20 employees and 100 people participating in the programs. Like the electricity and stuff will actually come from solar panels, which is cool. I don't know if this will be enough, like if all the mobiles will charge, but like there is some funding in the organization, and like I said, Günter Lange is super motivated to like do this project because he's really into innovative new social possibilities and options. But like to get funding is difficult. I am actually in another project, and I'm talking to like local politicians, and like even up to the land, like I mean
Bundesland, no?
Bundesland, yes. So people actually really like this project, which is super cool, and hopefully, like thumbs pressed, there might be a solid funding end of 21, and this would mean that we will have funding for a few years and a few jobs. Yeah, this would be awesome. But yeah, also for us, it's super complicated.
Well, this kind of brings us into one of the topics we want to talk about, which was why blockchain. And I want to bring this issue up because it comes up a lot with community currency guys, and you know, I'm a bit of a tokenization kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of value in tokenizing value, and we just recently saw something wild happen 2 days ago or 1 day ago, depending on your time zone. Uniswap just airdropped, well, Merkle dropped like $400 million to its users. And they literally just created a currency. They issued a currency out of thin air to on top of a protocol that already existed for years. And no inflation happened, which is crazy. The currency didn't inflate. They issued currency, and then that currency, they gave it out to all their users, and then $1,000. We're talking $1,000, and now all their users, if they didn't sell, it's worth $2,000. Okay, this is just crazy. It almost doesn't make sense. And one of the things that I constantly see in this community currency space is you strap yourself down. You're like, no, we're going to create currencies, but we're not going to give any to ourselves to do this work, you know? And when here you are, you're tokenizing an economy, and yes, you have a stable currency, but couldn't you, with that stable currency, create some kind of economic system that also values the work that is happening, you know, the work that you're doing, that you're encouraging by, you know, that actually tokenizes the network itself? I'm curious about that. What do you guys think?
Okay, but you said you want to talk about blockchain, but I don't see the
relationship
to blockchain.
Well, this is the reason that this is really easy, or a lot easier with blockchain than it is just when you create your own currency, right? Is because when you create your own currency in a spreadsheet, it's not very trusted. It's hard to, it's difficult for anyone to be like, oh yeah, I trust those guys. They're maintaining a server and they're going to crunch the numbers correctly. Where on a blockchain, you're literally creating your own, you're living within Ethereum in one case, or maybe XDAI or Fuse, their little jurisdiction, and they have very easy rules that you can follow that are reliably followed. And then you can create a currency within that like network's jurisdiction that attributes value to the thing that you're creating, to the value that you're actually creating. So that's one, probably the most powerful application of blockchain out there. Obviously, you don't necessarily need blockchain just to, you know, manage some stuff in a spreadsheet, but I see that as, I guess I'm preempting the discussion of like, why do we need a blockchain? I think that's the core reason why we need a blockchain, because we can actually start using the blockchain tech to tokenize the value that's being created, which is not able to be like appreciated in our current market system.
So I guess your point is actually not about the technology, but more about the network and like the people that are actually used to using it, and yeah, like mainly the network effect, like of Ethereum being like the big technical like backend that everybody knows right now. Yeah,
and that you can use it to actually create a sustainable system for yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas like Uniswap was just open source code, and there was not really, they were living off grants. then they tokenized it, and all of a sudden they have like, it's like a $3 billion market cap, just like that, you know? So yeah, Julio?
Yeah, so I would like to comment on this point because so what you're saying is that basically the reason, like an argument for blockchains, is that it allows people to sort of produce tokens and then gain funding out of that, right? And
I want to
so
say, instead of tokens, economies.
economies, okay, economies, right? So I think there are two layers or maybe more to this. So one of them is the sort of where is power located within the actual blockchain, like the political economy of the blockchain itself, or depending on the system you're dealing with, right? Because yes, if somebody sort of produces a commodity money or commodity tokens that have some sort of value vis-a-vis the euro, dollar, whatever, yes, you will create a bunch of money out of nowhere there, but then, or I don't even know if to call it money would be there, but then you can exchange these tokens for fiat money that then give you funding. But that has consequences on the political and economic and technical level, because the blockchain is sort of, let's say you do a proof of stake algorithm, right? Or a proof of work even. The distribution of the tokens sort of is a reflection of the power dynamics between it, right? So the when you're talking about community currencies, it's actually different monetary designs. So that's the second layer, which is how do you bring this actually to people? And that's kind of like where a lot of the tension is. Like, for example, in Circles, we're running our system on XDAI. So it means that we're running the sort of basic income system of distribution to everybody that joins. But underlying in the technical infrastructure, we're paying rent to XDAI to maintain the system. So, but we don't have like, thousands and thousands of XDAIs to pay that out. So in a way, you have like two different monetary designs that want to like sort of figure out how to like balance each other out. But I think there is a limit to that, like, because yeah, I see what you say, that it allows people to create economies to fund themselves, create billions of dollars out of nothing. But at the same time, that bears consequences if you're actually trying to use that as a currency that people will use to exchange, right? Otherwise,
But
you'll end up creating these sort of two-layer systems, right?
the challenge I have with that is the assertion that it's out of nothing. It's actually backed by real value. These currencies that are out of nothing, well, that was the ICO days, where it's just like, here's an idea, we're going to sell a bunch of tokens for an idea. Yes, you can do it out of nothing. But there's another thing, is that when you're actually creating value, but that value doesn't have a quantification or a tokenization, it doesn't have value in our economy, which is a problem with our economic system, that it doesn't actually appreciate that value. Uniswap, for instance, clearly is providing value. Lots of people use it. All their users use it. Circles is providing value, man. It's such a cool project. You're creating so much value. And because you're a nonprofit, non-excludable like project value, the value that you're creating is non-excludable. You can't create a for-profit company to sustain it. But that's just a problem with our economic system. If you pulled the Uniswap, right, and you just airdropped your token to all the people who have been beta testing Circles so far, and gave yourselves 20%, and then say that we're going to liquidity mine, we're going to airdrop this token to anyone who signs up for Circles, and for the next year at these rates. Now all of a sudden you've created an economic game that actually incentivizes people to use Circles, and that's a great way to fund it, and people could trust it because it's on a blockchain, and the rules are set transparently and can't be broken.
So Valentine, what technology does SocialCoin uses?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm a little bit out of this discussion because I'm really not a blockchain guy. I mean, it's a pity because like I saw Bitcoin, like when did it start? Like 2011 or something. And I've been aware of it, and I thought, wow, this is super cool. And then I just really got it, and then I thought, okay, wow, this is actually a capitalistic thing. It won't change the world. And I mean, fuck that shit. If I would have invested, like, if I would, I mean, actually, I would have just needed to download this program and like mine some Bitcoins. Maybe I would have like 1 or 2, yeah, but didn't happen anyway. I mean, what you're talking about is, I mean, it is super cool. There's this huge community in blockchain. There are like people used to the concepts, and there's this this amazing opportunity to like fund projects. This, I would call this like funding projects. Actually, what you describe, like, I mean, you create like value out of air. I mean, this is a startup thought, right? You have an idea, you've got a team, you get funding, and then you distribute the coins like to the team or to the beta users. I mean, this is amazing because it shifts the perception of ownership and stuff. But I think technology is, I mean, it's like cars and bicycles. I mean, for some things a car is like way better, and for other things a bicycle is also better. And I mean, like, there are a lot of things like that people can actually argue, and they have like different tastes. And like, for example, with the social coin, I see no use case at all to use blockchain, because our target group is a totally different one. And yeah, this is it. And also our budget was not that high, and I am the developer, and I develop apps, and I develop with Firebase, with the big evil Google capitalistic society behind it, and which works great. It's awesome. And there, I don't want to have the social coin being traded internationally. And so, like, for me, it did not make sense to use blockchain. And I mean, this is the theory that, like, I have, that for most community currencies, I'm not quite sure if blockchain is the technology of choice, but it depends on the case.
What would you use? What would be the bicycle for community currencies, Valentin?
Okay, maybe it was a mistake, because cars are, of course, way cooler, especially if they're electric, of course. I don't know, like, I mean, what is a currency? A currency, like, money is, I mean, we could start a huge discussion, but like, important thing is trust. So do the people trust Günther Langer in this city? Yes, they do.
Yeah,
that's it.
And it's especially if it's a smaller group of 50 to even, like, let's say you get 1,000 people. Come on, people can trust. I assume it's just a Firebase going into some random database like MongoDB or something like that, and you're just tracking the numbers, right?
This is what blockchain also offers, but like with the like very like more complicated infrastructure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a way to save data, actually.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Valentin, going back to social coin, who issues social coin to the volunteers? Is it automated? Is it a group? How does that work, this dynamic?
Yeah, and right now, like I will actually do it, and there's no automation behind it, because I don't know a like economic model that I could use for it. So I mean, we will just start very slowly and then gain experience. I know actually that I can create an economic model and for it to automate it, but I have no experience, and like I have no gut feeling, you know. So yeah, I will just like get experience, and then there will be some parameters like people should be happy and satisfied, and like the mobility should be like rented out most of the time, but also the mobility should be available. And yeah, I think like these are the three parameters that should be optimized. And then of course inflation should not happen, but let's see how this will work out. And yeah, so like it's a step-by-step approach, like on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm. So the promise basically is to exchange voluntary work for mobility in any form.
Yeah, like this, like I said, like bicycle, car, and like for the kids, this scooter thingy.
And what voluntary work exactly are you looking at, or do people have a lot of options?
Yeah, I mean, we are starting. Like, we will also implement like a small job market, and yeah, we will work with these organizations like this elderly how do you call it, Altenheim, this like elderly pension, this animal shelter, and also the organization that I do. They offer a lot of voluntary work, like for example giving German courses to people that learn German for whichever reasons, and yeah, like helping out, like cleaning the street or actually building something. We are working together with food sharing. So there's a fair Tyler, a few tables where they actually like give out the rescued food, I think every week once or maybe twice. So this is a voluntary work. Yeah. So it's also voluntary work that does happen right now that will get the social coin on top. Yeah.
Nice. And would you call this like social coin a separate economy, like a side economy? Is that, I just want to segue into pluralist economics, which I know very little about, but it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, and I really love your approach of like this different economics, like also what you told about this blockchain project. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and this is, I think this is the main reason why we are into this realm of like community currencies, or at least why I am, because we have this dream of a better world. We have this very strong criticism of the current financial system. But I mean, there's this huge power, and we can't really change it. So we are just creating this alternative little economic systems, and I mean, we are just creating our little paradise, right? Which is awesome. Yeah.
It's like the economy is a little, it's kind of like monocropping, right? Mm-hmm. It's not the healthiest thing to do for any environment. It would be ideal, in my opinion, to have lots of different economic solutions for different value creation. And it seems like social coin, for instance, is an economic solution for certain types of volunteer work. It's not necessarily like really scoped in just one type, but it's kind of a general volunteer work for a general area, probably.
Yeah.
And then the economy is backed by access to these electric vehicles, right? And that's kind of the value that is that helps support this economic system. And the economic system is just there to facilitate value exchange, right? And so, can you tell us, does that follow a pluralistic economic approach, like having multiple economies next to each other for different solutions? Or is that, because I don't understand what pluralist economic, actually Zargam was telling me about it like 2 days ago. So I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts on it.
Yeah, cool. It's a great question. We actually, like the pluralist economics view, like I think the best answer would be it depends, because like pluralist economics is like not about having different plural economics next to each other in terms of economic like circulations and stuff, but it's actually about like having different opinions next to each other. So I guess like when you say this is another like an alternative economic system, then okay, good. If you've got a good argumentation for it, then yes. And other people could say it's actually like deeply rooted into our German capitalistic system, and you have bought this electric bike with euros, right? Or like, okay, the people use the tools that you also bought with euros and stuff, you know. And if they argue, and if they've got good arguments, then it's a valid argumentation. So. And I think this is very complicated, right? To have like this both like opinions, both with a very valid argumentation, and I mean there is no truth.
On that note, it's interesting, right? Because like in practice, sort of the hegemonic economic theory that predominates in today's society is what is called neoclassical economics, right? So I think when people talk about pluralism in economics or pluralistic economics, is really trying to see this whole like plethora of different economic ideas, right? So nowadays, for example, when it comes to money, there is this school in the US called modern monetary theory, which is coming up a lot now in the debates about money issuance and so on. There's also post-Keynesianism, neo-Marxism, and so on and so on and so on. So I think one example that people often give is Singapore. Like you name me one economic idea or school of thought that can explain Singapore. It's social housing, for example, is owned, I think 85% of it is owned by the government. But Singapore is often seen as this sort of land of free market economics and so on. And so once we look at the practice of how we do economics, we see that these ideas are actually all mixed together in different forms and ways. And so when we're talking about community currencies, I think these ideas matter a lot, because in the end, if these sort of little pockets that you were talking about emerge and grow, as now the financial crisis will also, with the financial crisis, it does matter, I think, these ideas of what is the fundament of what we're doing, basically.
Yeah.
Are there any good questions from the audience? Or bad ones too?
I want to have a bad one.
Yeah. Are there any trolls out there? Come on, you can troll us. No.
So here we have, oh yeah, Calgary Dollars asks another question, which is, can participants use the coin for things other than mobility? Can they pass it on to other participants for work done, for example? That's from Calgary Dollars.
Yeah, cool. Cool question. Maybe I take 2 minutes to answer. Like, first of all, transactions are of course allowed, because I want to see if if this is going to be alternative economic circulation or not, and what will actually happen if there's a coin which is backed with a kind of value and which can be used to like transfer it. So of course I've got this interest. Yeah, I'm still rooted in this community currency background, and there's this idea which emerged this week when I saw that there are not as much registrations that that I dreamed for, like having 50 instead of like 100. Which is, I talked to this restaurant owner, and just about the idea, like he's willing to contribute 1 or 2 pizzas of the week to get for the social coin. But there's this legal issue of then, yeah, the social coin has a direct exchange to the euro, and this might actually have legal problems. So I'm thinking about, and I'm super open for thoughts about this, creating a legal structure, because this is actually a legal problem. This is not an economical problem. Creating a legal structure, something like a society, where businesses can contribute or donate goods or services, maybe on a weekly basis, and where like people like can actually be member of the society, and then like get this in some kind of reward. I mean, I really need a lawyer for this, but like so that it's not something they earn. So it's not on their tax calculation. It's not subtracted from their social help, and yeah, this might be actually be social coin 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Germany seems like a tough place to do a lot of this stuff. The laws are very difficult to work around, it seems.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, this is a weakness in the strength, yeah. But
yeah,
it's definitely a thing.
Yeah. I wonder if they just had like a social coin pizza, like this is the only pizza we have with bananas on it. Okay, so like we only sell it for social coin.
Yeah.
So if you want bananas on your pizza, you better get yourself some social coin.
Yeah. That's awesome. That might actually be the solution, banana pizza.
Yeah, well, and so it sounds like with social coin, you're open to expanding the economy. So it's not just focused on being backed by electric vehicles. It's open and experimental.
Yeah, this is just the first step, because this is what was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go back to quantifying volunteer work, because it sounds like that is almost the point of this social coin project, is to explore whether or not that will work, right? Does that feel like part of the main thesis that you're working on, is how do you quantify volunteer work?
Yeah, well, I mean, the basic idea was to create a community currency, and I mean, these were just the parts that have been there before: voluntary work and electric mobility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
Actually, yeah.
Do you have like an idea of how you're going to quantify some of this work? Because, you know, one guy's, you know, walking old people's dogs, and another guy is taking, you know, is a nurse, registered nurse who's volunteering to actually take care of that old person. Like, will they each get one coin, or do you know how you're going to play that?
Yeah, with the survey, like the actually I would like have 2 time points, like now now is the first one, like asking people like in the survey about their motivation and how many voluntary works they contribute and why they want to start to contribute and what are their motivations right now. So it's just a basic survey. Then I wanted to have a randomized control group, like with 50 people participating in the social coin experiment, and like with 50 people like being on the exclusive waiting list. And yeah, then ask again after 3 months, like the same survey, like how many voluntary works did you contribute on a weekly basis. And I think like this should be actually enough. Yeah, this is how I wanted to measure it. Yeah, but I think I have to make a pivot.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, like right now, like 17 people actually filled out the survey of the 50 people. And actually, I mean, it's the first social currency I create. I don't want to force all of them to like participate in this experiment, because I'm more interested in the currency than in the science behind the currency.
Can you talk a bit more about the design of social coin? Is it like a mutual credit? Is it like a script, like a voucher system? How would you describe it?
It's an app. It's very simple. People register with their phone number. Like in WhatsApp, I thought this would be the most simple way. And I mean, there's something like the central bank, which is like our account where like I will have the control about it. And we spend the social coin to the organizations. So there are the 3 layers, like the central bank, the organizations, and the users. And the organizations, they can like offer jobs and like give the social coin to users that do the job. And the users, they come back to our organization, which is somehow the central bank, and they can rent out the electric mobility. Yeah, this is the start. Yeah,
Nice.
That's really nice. Actually, we just got a nice comment from Calgary Dollars. I think on your point, which is they say our affordable housing agencies, they partner with them, and they use Calgary Dollars to get engagement from the tenants, so they can pay a portion of their rent to buy, for example, like basic goods. So engagement for them means cleaning, volunteering to manage a common space or event, organizing things and so on. And they say that they have incentivized, with their service. It says we have incentivized our service with draws and now payment in Calgary Dollars. 15 Calgary Dollars intake, 5 for follow-up. So we rely on our service for data for our funders. So basically, they embed the Calgary Dollars within the survey to incentivize adoption.
In the survey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've done the same.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, but still a very good idea. Yeah, and also like with this affordable housing, awesome. Yeah, perfect. Thumbs up for that.
Cool.
Yeah, that's super cool.
I would like, if I'm allowed a bit of creative synergy here, to talk a bit about the question of value. I think this is important. Like I'm an anthropologist, and one of the things we often study in economic anthropology is value, and the question of what is value. And one way in which I understand value is that which gives meaning to our own actions. So that could be very broad. So when you were talking about value before Griff, you were talking about all this unseen value in today's society, right? All this value that is not sort of seen or visualized or even monetized by the current system. So think of reproductive work, think of care work, all the work that is done to take care of other people, to maintain other people, to, you know, as you were saying, like to allow others to be immobile, to care for the elderly. All this work is not valued in today's society, but it does create value because it gives people meaning, right? By
Yeah,
doing
like
it,
access to affordable housing.
like access to affordable housing, exactly. So yeah, I wonder what your thoughts are on the question of value, because it is often a question of where does value come from when talking about work and so on. And often in the technology world, is seen as if the only work that matters is for example, the programmer work, where actually a lot of communication work, a lot of these sort of soft skills, as they're called, are not sort of seen in the same way, right? So this is interesting, right? Because it also affects the currencies that we design somehow.
I assume you're asking Valentine, right?
You're just
Yeah,
open for everybody, yeah.
yeah. But I totally disagree. Totally agree. Like, I mean, this is the big question that we should actually ask in our economy. Like, what is value? What do we need? I mean, Julio, you know it better than like all of us. Like, what is a bullshit job? Like, what is the value that we don't need? I mean, and the crisis, like suddenly, like this Corona crisis, suddenly like showed, wow, like all these high-paid jobs, we don't actually need them. They are not system relevant. So okay, wow, this low-paid job, wow, like people taking care for like all the people that need care, like wow, they offer value. Or like, okay, what would actually happen like if we would have no farmers anymore, for example, in the world? Or like actually like refugee people like working on the fields in Spain for our cool organic vegetables that we buy in the supermarket. I mean, would be a very tough world then.
In the market economy, farmers would all of a sudden be very well paid. That's the concept, right? That's the idea.
Yeah.
But in the end, this is the sad market where it's like there's a supply and a demand, and that's it. And we're just a little more complicated than that. Value is a lot more complicated than what a two-sided market can give. Access to affordable housing, for instance, as Calgary Dollars is pointing out, has a tremendous effect on society. We can have a diverse group of people that can live in a city. The people who are fulfilling jobs don't have to travel for an hour to get to where their workplace is. There's a lot of value in not having homeless people all over the place. I mean, look at San Francisco is just a great case study of our market economy gone crazy. You know, where the richest city in the world it's almost not safe to go outside. I mean, it's a crazy place. But clearly, if there was affordable housing, a lot of those people wouldn't be homeless, right? They would be able to find a place to live and have a shower and have access to these important services. And of course, it's a complicated system, but a lot of these bullshit jobs that you're talking about, they come from our solutions to solve public goods, in my opinion, right? We have governments that are trying to impose regulations to maintain value around affordable housing, around protecting the environment. I'm staying at a friend's house. I'm actually in a garage because it's very early in the morning here and they're still sleeping. But she works for Caltech. It's a state construction company. She does she's doing a study on the effect of fish where they're building a bridge, right? And like the sound that will affect this bridge. This is incredible. I had no idea how much work is going into, actually following government regulations to protect the environment. But you could say that she just sits at her desk and it's a spreadsheet job, a cubicle job. Well, now stay-at-home job, right? And it feels like a bullshit job, but she's protecting the animals in the water. But the thing is, that river has value. And she wouldn't have to have that bullshit job if we could actually attribute value to it, right? And like sometimes even the state company will just say, oh, you know what, screw it. Like, well, we have lawyers for a reason. you know, we're going to build this bridge and we're going to impact the environment, and we're just going to go to the court. And because that's what the spreadsheet says we should do. It's worth it just to go to court and pay the fines. And wow, you know, that's an interesting way. All this bureaucracy goes into, you know, creating basically making up for the fact that our current economic system doesn't appreciate the value of this river. And that's what I think could change and get rid of a lot of these bullshit jobs, is if we actually had different economic systems that appreciate all of the value that we have. It's going to take a lot of time, of course, but we got to start somewhere, because these bullshit jobs are just, they're wasting everyone's time when we could just look at the core root of the problem. We need to protect non-excludable goods.
Totally. I mean, this is, I think, a very interesting question, right? Like, there are many things I think from what you said that I want to bring up. One of them is the idea that this is actually one of the insights from economic anthropology that I really like, which is that markets and capitalism are not the same thing. Markets have existed way before the emergence of capitalism, and actually, it is states, today nation states, that govern and regulate markets. Today, they're overly bureaucratized in many ways due to like 50 years of high finance and neoliberalism. And it produces this sort of managerial, almost feudal class that gains power by having a bunch of people below them, flunkies that, you know, don't really do anything, right? And so the lack of meaning that people get from these jobs is really like reflecting on all these things. One thing, yeah, I think and then the notion of how do we sort of get rid of all of this, one easy way and one sort of almost bureaucratic free way would be basic income, universal basic income. As in, everybody in a society gets an unconditional amount of money to live, no questions asked, just because they exist as a human right. For me, this is an interesting question, right? Because actually, this week is Basic Income Week. We have many marches happening all over the world, in Berlin, in Amsterdam, in New York, whatever it's possible, even with the COVID, to really demand governments to provide people with a basic income. And where governments don't provide that, then we, at Circles at least, we're saying, how can communities come together and do networks of exchange where people can sort of bring about community basic income. This is more and more will become a present issue as the financial crisis, the economic crisis, the affective crisis deepens in our societies. And so I feel like we're sort of in the midst of a great transformation, of an economic transformation, social transformation, and we're only really beginning to see the consequences of it. I don't know. What do you think, Valentin?
Yeah, I'm absolutely in favor of a universal basic income. And I think the world is always transforming. I think to 2020, I mean, we have our very specific kind of transformation. I think, for example, like 1940 or 1970, I mean, they had their kind of transformation. Like they had serious transformations going on. And the funny thing about the future is that we don't know it. I mean, it does actually not exist, right? We are creating it every moment, and I wish for the universe. Actually, I think the universal. No, I think the basic income will come true. Like I think it's just on the way, and social systems always develop. And I mean, social insurance is also something quite new. I don't know, 100 years or something old. And so this is just another step of like social insurance. And there's not only this economic dimension, I think there's also like this legal dimension, like kind of like providing this human right of income, like of affluence, and also this philosophical dimension. And I guess like we are very far away from universal basic income because there's still so much racism in the world and like so much unequal trade, and like the European Union like just breaking all laws of free trade just to like prohibit their like farmer markets and destroying African markets. And it's so evident and everybody knows it, and it does not change for decades. So I don't think that we're gonna see a world where suddenly all the poor people in other countries will get money. But I truly wish and hope for it, but I don't know if it will happen that far. But it's great that like we go on the street and we stand up for this vision. It's important because people like us, we are actually changing the world. And also, I mean, like I don't die for it, but other people have died for the world that we live in. So it's super important. I mean, we can just go on the street and like we don't risk our lives, so we have to do it.
And this is why I'm so excited about Circles and like Honey and all these things, because they are universal basic income. You really can cross these legal boundaries when you're in a kind of this unique jurisdiction of blockchain tech. And I don't know how easy that would be to do universal income, basic income without blockchain. And there's a lot of projects doing it. I mean, really, if there's good internet connection, which I think is a public good that needs to be protected, like access to the internet for any kind of like UBI to really take hold, especially a blockchain UBI, then we could actually pull it off. I know Honey, I love the way Honey is doing their UBI project. They have like an XDAI faucet. Circles is another obviously a great UBI project. And in honor of UBI week, I don't know, Julio, could you just like rant off a bunch of awesome UBI projects that are out there that
for sure. I on that note, before that, I want to go back to Valentin's point, which is that a lot of the rights that we have today come from the people that struggled in the past for us to have them. So in the same light, as Michael Linton was saying in the chat, is it their money or our money that we're bringing about? So I think, we should really be clear about what we're for. And I think regardless of the currency design that these community currencies are doing anywhere in the world, whether if it's Kenya, Italy, Guatemala, or Berlin, I think we are on the verge of claiming economic democracy by democratizing the monetary institutions of our day. We do not need private banks. We do not need even central banks. In fact, right now, the European Central Bank is sort of creating a centralized digital currency, which just will make something like the Soviet Union, which is a very sort of like fragile system. So this provides an opening for community currencies to say we can provide a pluralistic, outside of the monoculture of the current hegemonic system, to say how can we create a democratic alternative to these things beyond a specific tech, like without fetishizing tech, but really like bringing these values into it. Yeah, and on projects in general, one of the ones I like the most actually is in Brazil. There is a system that is giving people 42,000 people that are getting about the equivalent of $58 a month. It's called the Mumbuka. It's a local government project given by the city of Maricá. It's called the City of Utopias. That's how they call it, at least. And this is a really, really interesting experiment because it shows that you can use a community currency to provide people with a basic income. This is, for me, by far the most interesting project out there. And maybe we can even have them on the show next time.
Oh, that would be cool. That'd be really cool. 42,000 people. That's huge.
Yeah.
Well, we're right on time. We should probably call it. Thank you, Valentin, for coming to the show. Julio, of course, always a pleasure. You guys, maybe we'll do last words. Valentin?
Hey, thanks for having me here. It was a pleasure. You are a super great host. I feel like we are all on one table. I hope it will happen. Love you. Thanks.
Take care. Bye, Valentin. Bye, Griff.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
See you.
See you.